my goodness. Bumpy!
400th of a second. That's less than the blink of an eye.
Winterberg in Germany, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Well, there they are. It's the final run of the weekend, the second and deciding heat of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup and the European Championships. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me, John Morgan. John, a topsy-turvy first run that sees our World Cup points leader 20th and last in the heat, but a tight battle at the top.
Danny Mayer, Austria, second in this event in St. Moritz. Last year, it was his coming out party, his first ever World Cup medal, and he hasn't shown any weakness. He had a good weekend last weekend at Altenburg, 2 top 5 finishes, top 6 in a 2-man yesterday. He's in a bronze medal position. Nico Walter, he's been struggling so far. Didn't medal in Altenburg last week, 14th in yesterday's 2-man competition. Here he had the first draw off the top of the track, used it to good advantage, second best time, but he's chasing down another German, Johannes Lochner. Wow, he won last week in Altenburg, his first ever gold medal in World Cup 2 or 4-man competition. And all of a sudden, all the attention in German bobsledding is on this young 26-year-old who's starting to find fast lines down these tracks. He also won a silver medal in yesterday's 2-man competition.
Well, yesterday's 2-man winner, Francesco Friedrich, won 2- and 4-man gold here last year, but he's been blown away. He's only in 10th position after the first heat. Johannes Lochner, 1300ths ahead of Nico Walter, but look, from 4th, Alexei Stulnev, down to Francesco Friedrich, just 1100ths of a second. We could have a big race on our hands and some very tight battles further back. Rico Peter, the World Cup point leader. He's had a silver and a gold and a 5th place finish in 4-man this season. He just made it into the heat in 20th. Chris Spring fuming at the conditions when he was going down. A lot of drivers and their teams had very odd start times, some very odd run results as well. But the field is what it is, and we're going to have to go with that. Ice temperature -3, air temperature dropping, sun set about half an hour ago, and actually it feels a lot colder than -3 degrees. So the spectators have had all sorts of weather here, really heavy snow during the course of the day, and they are still at trackside waiting for this 4-man race to conclude. Well, Johannes Lochner's the big story, isn't he? His first ever 4-man victory last week in Altenburg. He's only done a handful of World Cup races, 6 or 7 in his career, and he leads the field. But Rico Peter, the World Cup points leader, in 20th, not words we expected to say this season without a crash or a mishap at the start or some major disaster, none of which were evident.
Yeah, but Mother Nature was involved.
Yeah.
Because like in this men's skeleton race, we saw a couple suspect start times because of blowing snow here at the top of the track.
Yeah. Rico Peter is not last to go, as he has been a couple of times this season. He is first to go as we go 20 down to 1 to decide the medals in the European Championship and round 4 of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh World Cup.
Well, this Swiss sled is the first to go, and he's the guy that won the event. I've never seen, I think, somebody win an event and be in this position. First sled down in the second run, Martin. I mean, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird things happening here, but you know, it's winter sport. Deal with the conditions and perform at your highest level. Nice takeoff. The sled didn't come out of the blocks. You know, they didn't have a very good start. 5:29. They should be in the teens. There's the, look at that. 5:29 in the first run, 5:13 in the second run. This is the World Cup leader, and those are the times that we expect, even though he did tap out of curve 1.
In the whole season last year, the worst result in 4-man for Rico Peter was a 7th place.
I think we can safely say Mother Nature had a little bit to do with his 20th place time in the first run. But it's winter sport. It's horse racing. You go to the horse races and the favorites, it's pouring rain, it's mud. And you see the people who just, oh boy.
He's in trouble. very late off corner 9, broadside into 11, and no time to catch it before the final corner.
83.9 miles an hour, though, 54.91. He is 61 hundredths faster in that run. Now, we would expect that because he was 16 hundredths better at the start. It's colder, it's not snowing.
But that huge skid might well have cost him as much as 2 or 3 tenths of a second, perhaps. He could have been nearly a second quicker. He was a second off the lead.
This didn't help. Great start.
Yeah.
That drift out of that little chink, that little nemesis curve. It's like a mosquito, biting you. You're thinking past it and you can't get through it. But here, this is more than a mosquito bite here. This could have been a lot of trouble for Rico Peter. Look at him shake his head. Well,
This will be
he was
a
looking
race
at the
to
pictures
forget.
right there.
Yeah,
You know?
this will be a race to forget for Rico Peter, Bro van der Zijde, and the rest of the crew. Oddy Biddulph from Great Britain, 5th fastest starting team this, with a 5:15 getaway. Tremaine Gilling and Mark Lewis Francis with Gregory Cackett, the new man, on the back of the sled.
This guy's did pretty good at the start. 5th best start the first run. Impressive. Ollie I thought did really good last week at Altenburg.
He can count the number of his 4-man World Cup appearances on the fingers of one hand, pretty much. So very inexperienced at this level in the 4-man. Definitely a big hope for the future for Great Britain, though.
Mark Lewis Francis in number 3, the Olympic champion from London in 2002. Look at the positions of the guys. We're seeing a lot of shoulders back there. Shouldn't see anybody. Still seeing a head flopping around. Start was excellent. 5:17, 5:15 the first run. And look, you can see some heads really. Whoever's riding number 2 is not comfortable.
Not only the first time that this crew have slid together with these 4 members, but they've moved the positions around since last week as well.
Well, they aren't comfortable on the sled, riding the sled. You can't ride the sled like a sandbag. You got to feel yourself down here, especially in curve 9. Upper runner pressure. Ooh, that's why you need upper runner pressure. That sled comes out airborne like that in there too. He's gonna get to the bottom, boy. But Rico Peter is gonna fly by him. Wow, 55.46. You know what he had in the first run?
55.46.
Bingo.
But it was a much less wild ride, so the track is evidently faster. I mean, even with Rico Peter's huge problems at the bottom, he went the better part of 3/4 of a second faster. And Oddy Biddulph ties his first heat time with a wild old ride. Tremaine Gilling, Mark Lewis Francis on the back of Lamin Dean's sled last week.
Curve 9, up near the wood. And this is where you got to fire upper runner pressure. All the people have to be pushing on that upper runner pressure to flop it back down. But then the driver, he's got to hold on. You know what? This is 80 miles an hour with these 4-mans in a very narrow tube at the Winterberg track. It's the personality of this track, what you see in those pictures right there.
Just as well 10 to 11, it's as wide as the old Lake Placid. Jan Verber of the Czech Republic, we've seen him get sideways in corners before and back it off. Let's see what he can do here.
Start, 5:24. First run, they had a 5:20. The first one, I think this run's going to be very consistent. This is normal bobsleigh. And that first run, it was a little bit of mysterious Mother Nature involved. Some of the things we saw were like, what? And it was like that in the skeleton event this morning.
Yep.
And it was like that in the men's skeleton event yesterday. So Mother Nature's played some havoc up here in Winterberg all weekend long in the competitions.
If you didn't see the skeleton, they had to call the first heat of the women's skeleton race after just 7 sleds. It was snowing so heavily. Second heat they got done pretty much around the last 9 sleds or so really had problems with the weather.
Here in the first heat, there was a couple athletes that got, I mean, yesterday, nobody got beat up by the weather more than Justin Cripps. And there's Swiss pick off somebody else, 55.26, and they're 900ths better for the Czechs. Jan Weber and team, they did pretty good.
Well, listen, when he's down in 20th place, Rico Peter, 18th, 17th, yeah, whatever. Bothered. Home to St. Moritz on Monday.
He could 3 or 4 more places yet.
He could indeed, but, you know, starting a second behind the leader, he's not going to get a long way up.
Look at, these articulations on the sleds here. These 80-mile-an-hour speeds. You're seeing these slow motion sleds come through your pictures right here. 80 miles an hour on these sleds down the bottom of this track. That's quick.
USA's Justin Olsen was in 17th place after a wild ride in the bottom part of the Winterberg track. 1900s ahead of current leader Rico Pater, but a third fastest start shows this crew has got so much potential.
Olsen's from San Antonio. Landis is from Nashville. Weinstock's from Las Vegas. And Mariah is from Somerville, Massachusetts, and he's an interesting character. See if they get down. Third best start in the first run, 5:18. 2 consecutive heats, 13 and 18 is pretty good. Yeah, Louis Mariah, SMU grad. He's got a master's degree from Southern California. He also spent 6 years representing his country overseas.
Yeah, he was in the airborne divisions. So he's possibly his tours in Afghanistan weren't quite as cold as it has been the last few weeks. I'm sure he had plenty of that. 100th behind for Justin Olsen.
Gonna need to, the night train sled that Olsen won the gold medal on in 2010 with Stephen Holcomb. He's pretty inexperienced in four-man, and he's just getting his laps down. With that type of start, you can compete. Third best start, third best finish. Oh, he just finishes behind Jan Weber by 300ths. But, Coach Brian Scheimer looks on and just knows that this young, very talented athlete that attended the Air Force Academy is just buying his time on these tracks, getting the experience. He learns how to drive with that type of start. He will be competitive. And down to curve 11, watch the heads as the sled traverses through these 3 corners they call the labyrinth. This is pretty good here. Really quiet steering there. Justin?
Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for coming out, guys.
That's his persona.
Yes, it is. Italy's Simone Bertazzo in the red Italian Rosso Corso sled. These guys lay in 16th place after the first heat, 200s ahead of Justin Olsen, who has just preceded them, but some 2100s ahead of our current leader, who is also the World Cup points leader, Rico Pater. Pater a long way down the field compared to where he normally would be.
Bertazzo, the twilight of his career, 29 start in the first run, probably going to be the same, 5:30. Yep. Look at the brakeman, reached over to try and get the push bar in, and then a little skid out of curve 1. 4th best velocity off the 5th best start. But Bertazzo, because of all the experience, he'll find a speed line on the bottom, and he's going to need it because he's +6 now to Rico Pater.
Well, no snow in the track, as you'll notice, compared to some of the other races this weekend. A lot of the athletes have been saying how good the ice is this season. They've got a brand new laser-traveled special cutting machine for shaving and planing the ice. And veterans here at Winterberg say the ice has never been better.
Look how smooth this is. It's not fast because he didn't have a start time, but second best speed off the worst start of the field. Look at that. Still hangs in there. Doesn't match the Swiss. Those are 4 unhappy athletes in the winner's box.
Yep.
Normally in the winner's box, you're happy when you move up 5 places. Not those guys.
Well, 54.91 would have left Rico Pater just out in 8th position instead of 20th in the first heat, and there's no reason for suspecting that he couldn't have done a better job because his second trip was wild and loose. The first looked a lot tidier.
And watch the guy reach up here, try and push the push bar in, and maybe that had something to do with that back end.
Yeah, definitely. When you're on that little rock there, definitely.
Half kilometer speed difference. Simone.
Some very keen fans there. Rico Pater leads from Simone Bertazzo and Jan Weber. 5 of our 20 sleds down. 15th fastest in the first of our 2 heats in Winterberg, Germany. Ugi Salems of Latvia. The third of the Latvian sleds, Martin Haven, John Morgan, watching the action trackside with you. And the Latvian sled of Oskars Kubamanis a long way up the order, battling for the medals. Their teammate already in St. Moritz, where we go next week for World Cup action. He raced there this week in the European Cup. Had a good result in the two-man, won in the four-man yesterday. That's Oskars Melbardis, who was the silver medalist here last year.
5:18 in the first and second heats. This is another couple of decathletes in this sled. The whole Latvian Federation seems like half of them are decathletes. Driving, 700s, big skid there. Rico Peter, I don't know. This Latvian athlete here has got a good driving ability, good exit there, but he's +3. And Rico Peter had the best ice to work with. He was the first guy down the second run, and he didn't have a very good ride down the track, and he's going to move up another spot, maybe.
500s behind. Can he catch him at the line? It seems unlikely. 500s it is. Not much to choose. Rico Peter on the right there. Be happy to leave the leader's box no matter what else happens. This isn't really doing him too many favors.
I think it's safe to say he's going to lose his World Cup lead.
Yep. Unless there's a couple of crashes. He needs Kazhinov, Holcomb, Stulnev, Benny Meyer to stack it, and then he might hang on.
I don't think that's going to happen. Watch the back end of the sled here. This is into the Kreisel curve. Bang, bang, 2 hits. Then you got to go in and negotiate this big 270-degree whip around. And
only the second man to dip under the 55-second margin. So a quarter of a second better than his first run. Great Britain's Lamin Dean in 14th place off a 23rd placed start. There were some definite wind detracted starts, and you've got to count those among them.
These 4 athletes should not have the 23rd best start time. I think Mother Nature had something to do with that. So in essence, they should move into the teens here. They should be 17, 18 at least.
Very funky looking brand new race suits for the Team Great Britain athletes. Next week, the livery of the sled will also match.
Right. There's 5:14.
There we
push
go.
Push bar's out. Uh-oh.
Brakeman doesn't realize that it's out.
It's going to hit something. Oh, another technical malfunction now. They had a start miss, and there it comes down. But that
just a little dink and it tinged back in, so that's
listen,
okay.
Lamin Dean. Oh, that's rough. Lamin Dean flew at the bottom part of the track, even with this first start time. So 2100s. I can't see him throwing away 2100s here in the bottom.
Well, he'll be down to a 10th in front after that mistake at corner 4.
There it is.
1100s. Out of 9, clean exit from 9. And don't forget how sideways Rico Peter was there. This is where Lamin Dean should be able to capitalize with smooth lines.
Down to 9, should be at 4th best time. It's going to be within 3 or 4 hundredths, but it should be the lead.
And it is just enough, 55.10. Still 0.2 of a second slower than Lamin Dean's run, than Rico Peter's run, but he holds on, and he will be in the leader's box.
14th. 55.24 in the first run, 55.10 there. It's a faster track. I don't know if people start going to continue to go faster because the track starts to get cut up now.
And the start went from a 5.32 to a 5.14.
Just think if they're 1800s better in the first heat at the start. Look at these 4 huge men. You see Lamin Dean off the back block, and he'll come forward and want to hit the push bar at the same exact time as the other 3 guys. Cohesion. Okay, then after you have that explosion, then you got to turn into some kind of a fitness athlete and figure out how to get in this little bathtub. And push bar was out on him, and big mistake at the top of the track though when he comes out of curve 4. This is a hard hit when the speeds are slow.
Got a lot of ice there with the back of the sled.
He's not happy with
himself. Not happy, but at least they didn't get roughed over by the weather. Nick Polonyato of Canada, 13th after the first heat. His advantage over current leader Lamin Dean. You see it there on the screen, 0.02 of a second.
They're going to get crushed here at the start, but this is pretty good for Nick and crew from what they did in Lake Placid. And they crashed the first heat through the finish high. 5:22 start, that's not bad. 5:22 in the first run too. But you give these guys credit, they crashed in the first heat, finished intact, went up. The second run, crashed in the second heat. Didn't finish intact, and so they got disqualified, didn't get points. But this last week in Altenburg, here he is, and Winterberg had a pretty good first run. And he had a breakout year in the Canadian Championships. We won one of the selection races, which is one of the reasons why he's here. And one of the 4 Canadian sleds that were in the field, including Chris Spring, who pretty angry at the end of the first heat. What happened to him? And of course, Kaylee Humphries and her female team raced. They didn't qualify for the second run. Oh, look how late that was. And I think this is a question, how many spots is he going to fall? He's going to fall 5 places. 8, 7 places. All the way back behind Justin Olsen. So Nick Politano, much better result than he had in Lake Placid. He's got World Cup points this time.
Yep. Well, Derek Plug, as they were lifting the sled out the track in Lake Placid, said we'll be back, and they are.
Good result.
Yep.
And the 11th and Whistler, the opening event, so.
Now, like Ollie Biddulph, lost a few spots on the way down the track, and again, like Lamindine,
right there,
rode very late.
4 to 5, you can't do that.
Yep.
Now here, the transition here, watch the back end of the sled here. Then he's got to cross over to get on the take-on with the skid, but he corrected pretty well.
Climbing up to turn 4 and then going too high, always costly. 12 sleds remain in the 4-man competition in Winterberg, Germany. Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action with you as Yoon Jung-won of Korea comes to the line. 12th in the first heat. 10th fastest start. Pretty middle of the road drive from the Korean.
Look at the size of their calves and their quads.
He started 1 4-man race this season. 5th place though in Lake Placid.
Decent starts. 50-23 that time, 19 in the first run. Seeing everybody get a little slower except for the British, who were about 1800s better.
Well, there was 2 or 3 teams where the start was long way off what you would expect them, probably because of a headwind, and they're the ones who have improved.
There's a quiet exit of curve 4, something that the leader, Lamindine, did not do. So it's 4 600s to 8, so I would think he stopped the bleeding here. Now with good lines down here, he can catch Lamindine in the back.
Starting to close.
Here he comes. Good exit here. Yep. That's the back end of the sled here in the second picture right here. He's got the lead.
Oh!
Late, but it's still 300s.
Is he going to have enough speed in the final corner, or will it all ebb away up to the line?
He does. He has it.
He stays just in front.
Okay. Eric Allard, the Frenchman who's now coaching the Koreans. He won a bronze medal on this track at the World Championships in 2-man way back in '95. And that was one of those upset World Championship medals I talk about. But this is the Koreans safely down in the leader's box. Mission accomplished, but a little late. Look, he's coming to the middle of the curve. When he comes to the middle of the curve, he comes late. And he comes late into the takeout of the next curve, and he gets away with it. Here in the finish, he's still late. And the articulation, the suspension of the sled's totally maxed out. When you see him turn like that, you can look through that. It's 4-man bobsledding.
Cody Basque of the USA, just a couple of hundreds outside of a top 10 result in the first heat. 500ths away from 10th position. 1100ths ahead of our current leader, Yoon Jung-won of Korea, in the first of the 2 runs here in Winterberg, Germany.
Frank DeLuca from Bethel, Maine. Adrian Adams from Reedsville, North Carolina. And Chris Kenny from Stockbridge, Georgia. Start time in the first run. 22, 21, proved. Got out of that chip curve without the skid that he had in the first run.
We saw Justin Olsen in the night train, the 2010 Steve Holcomb 4-man. This is the 2014 4-man sled, the subway sled.
He had a problem in the first run at 4, and he did it again, and then he drifted.
Not as bad as one of Korea or Lamindine, who are first and second at the moment.
Still wasn't smooth on the entrance to Kreisel.
Lead is down to 1300ths.
Ooh, tapped outside of 5. It's got to be perfect here. Have a chance.
One was skiddy, little skid from him. He's behind.
Gonna lose at least one spot. If
Well, the top two are only 300s apart. He'll go into the lead or drop two. He does drop two. Into third place, and the Koreans remembering Malcolm Lloyd, their coach, as we do on a daily basis, missing his smile around the track.
Too many mistakes for Cody. Probably his 18th, 19th trip in this sled. He's been driving it at 3 different tracks. Just can't get the perfect run. Right here, this is real costly, 4 to 5. Skid and watch him come to the right side of our screen. The curve's on the left. He's got to go in the middle and turn hard then.
Offers his congratulations to our race leaders as they slip a couple of spots from the USA. 10 down, 10 to go. Yun Jung-won leads from Lamindine and Cody Basque. And we are getting ready to decide our medals. Top 10 remaining in the four-man World Cup in Winterberg, Germany. Martin Haven, John Morgan with the action as Francesco Friedrich, last year's four-man winner, gets ready to try and improve on a 10th place first run.
Yeah, I think Mother Nature got a hold of him too. 5:08 in the first run, off of 5:20 in the first run, 5:08 there. So definitely a weather-affected start from this team. I don't think he's ever been back in 10th place in his World Cup career. He's won all 3 two-man events he's been in this year, and the four-mans, he's medaled also.
And he's won 3 two-man races in a row on this track, including yesterday where he crushed the field by 7/10 of a second.
I stand corrected about his performance. He had a 12th in Worcester in the first run of the first event of the season. 6/10. I would expect he's going to move up 4 or 5 spots here.
Germany swept the podium last year in the four-man on this track. He was the winner ahead of Max Arndt and Nico Walter.
Max Arndt retired from the sport. 3 other Germans replace him. 54-57. Okay, 4,800 hundredths better for Francisco Friedrich and this superhuman team that he's got.
54-57 in the first heat would have left him 7/100ths of a second off the lead, and that's where he should have been. A 5:08, the fastest start we've seen today, compared to a 5:20 with the wind in their faces in the first of our 2 heats.
And that wasn't perfect.
That wasn't
out of
perfect,
that shake,
no.
You know?
But then he was getting to it a heck of a lot faster than he did in the first heat with the wind in their faces as they ran through the first 50 meters.
Nobody comes through that curve perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, on the bottom part of the track, 13-14. Good job, guys. Good comeback, but, you know, deal with the weather and Mother Nature and just go out and perform at your best. Hope for the best.
Justin Cripps of Canada got murdered by the weather in the second heat of the two-man yesterday, looking for redemption here. And he is only a 10th of a second off a top 4 finish.
They did pretty good to start, 15, but they're going to have to get to 11 or 12, 13 start here to match Friedrich, who just posted 5:08 and is waiting at the bottom. There's 5:13, so good start for this really athletic Canadian team.
300s in front as they sit down. Now he needs a big run.
It's going to be red numbers by the next clock. That's expected. And now, perfect lines, an exit of 4. Needs to be perfect here. That's nice, quiet. So he could be 300-400s down here at the crowds of 500s. That's not bad. It's a soft tap. Friedrich wasn't perfect down here. 12. No, he's not going to catch him. Ooh, I didn't like that adjustment right there. 9. Skid. That's the back end of transition. As good as anybody coming through here, but it's slow. 5th best speed. Still good enough for second, though.
Second at the line, loses a spot to Francesco Friedrich and his crew.
Not bad. You just Lyndon Rush, Stefan Bosch. Lyndon Rush is not bad to Stefan, and I agree with him. 1100's better in the second run. Good starts.
0.3 of a second slower than Friedrich's run on that run alone.
He'll go back to the hotel thinking, okay, the weather didn't get me today.
Yeah.
Yesterday, he got slaughtered in the second heat with the wind at the top of the track and the start. And the back end here, skid into take on a Kreisel. Look at the difference. Going through Kreisel, look at Friedrich. Cripps covered a lot less distance.
0.2 of a meter.
Distance, that's strange.
Well, he's just keeping a flatter line. Friedrich just allowing the sled perhaps to climb at the end and
Maybe
dive out.
Maybe, yeah.
8th place run in the first heat for Steve Holcomb of the USA, Carlo Valdez, James Reed and Sam Mitchener on this BMW-built 4-man sled.
Mitchener, former WAC champion, 100 meters, University of Idaho guy. So Holcomb, those guys are going to need a good start here to have a chance. 5:20 the first run, 5:18 improved. Start speed, third best. Holcomb did pretty good. He's going to have to do better than that to match Friedrichs at the bottom and quiet up here. This first albatross is going to be the exit of curve 4 right here. Nice.
He had a little skid there in the first heat, tidies that up.
How's the back end of the sled here?
Again, a little better than the first heat.
He's red numbers now by 10/100ths. And the two, that's a mistake there, 8 to 9, about 12 to 10. That's a good line right there out of 9. And Holcomb was the fastest sled in the competition at both runs yesterday in the two-man, but he's not going to have it here. He's going to fall back at least one spot. Third best speed in the finish, 54.82. 1100ths better. There's Mike Dion on the right, Atlanta Falcons fan. We're watching football with him last night. Brian Scheimer, recently married Brian Scheimer. Got his wife Deanna here, I guess, in a honeymoon situation. She's going to St. Moritz next week.
She's
so
loving it. She asked to come bobsledding on her honeymoon. Now, she's a keeper.
Yeah. So Holke drops one, but he got beat at the start convincingly. 10/100ths at the start in that heat. And that tap, 8 to 9. He was making a comeback, but that silenced it. This is pretty good through 9-10. This albatross at the bottom part of this Winterberg track. Look at these people loving it.
Yeah.
They love their bobsledding up
And
here.
they
They're
know
luge,
them
they're
so
skeleton.
well here.
This is a very educated sliding sports crowd, that's for sure.
7 to go. Maxim Adrianov of Russia, the first of 3 Russian sleds in a clump. After the first heat, they were separated by just 0.04 of a second, and there's the Latvian in between them all as well.
Good bobsled racing coming up, the next 6-8 sleds here. Yeah, 5:17 start, but this team had a good start velocity. In, down, 17 again, but 5th velocity this time, and a considerable change of direction on the exit of the zero curve. He's already in red numbers. Francisco Friedrich most likely will pick somebody else off here, unless, but the Russians have surprised us all with their ability to find big speed in the bottom of last week at Altenburg, and here again in the two-man competition yesterday.
Well, Friedrich was half a second off the lead in the first heat, and he's improved by 4,800. So if you meet them in the middle, he might be about a quarter back on aggregate. He should be in front of everybody except for maybe the last 3.
19 back. Gonna need to be perfect here. 21, drifting more. This is not gonna do it. Second best speed. He might catch Holcomb. No.
Third place.
Third place.
This is Snakes and Ladders. We've got 6 or 7 sleds covered by a 1/10 of a second. We're now into that.
Yeah, there might be a tie within here. It could easily be a 0-0 dead heat. And there's too many big men hanging around the leaders box. Still pretty good finish for Andrianov. What's he been doing in the season? 7, 16, and 10 so far. So this is another top 10.
Yeah. Third place at the moment with 6 to go.
This didn't help. Look at the brakeman coming down, moving his head a little bit, and you can see that's not straight. That's friction. Friction at the top of the track when the speeds are slow. Not good for your bottom time.
Maxim Adrianov has slipped a couple of spots. What will Alexander Kazhinov do? Unless he has a disaster here, actually what he'll do is take the World Cup points lead. But if he can find even a 1/10 of a second somewhere down the track, he could move up 4 or 5 spots into the medals.
First in Whistler, 8th in Lake Placid, 2nd last weekend in Altenburg, and this was a good starting team in the first run. I say good, I take it back. 5:21, 14th best start.
Well, they are a good starting team, and they shouldn't have been perhaps that far back. There you go, 5:16.
5th best speed. silver medal last week in Altenburg in the two-man competition.
Silver in the four-man as well. He won in Whistler. Worst result has been 6th. 8th place in Lake Placid.
400s there. Should stay to 4. The next clock, and he'll overtake Friedrich. Oh, it's down to 1.
He's not going to stay in front of Friedrich.
I don't know.
Friedrich went half a second quicker in the second heat, and he's
back in green numbers.
Quicker.
This is what he does. He manufactures speed. This is a speed merchant. He finds speed in the bottom part of the tracks that everybody else can do because he doesn't steer. Look how quiet this is. This is the best lines we've seen. It's dead heat. Second best speed, right to the 100. It could be a tie.
Takes it by 2, 54.71. Francesco Friedrich's time in the leader's box is over rather.
And this is the World Cup leader.
Enrico Pita, currently lying 9th with 5 to go, will lose the World Cup lead to Alexander Kasyanov.
Just barely, though.
Yeah.
Unless Kasyanov moves up one more. Great run.
Well, he's 24 points behind coming in here. That should be enough.
Look at these lines. I mean, he was just, look at how quiet. Little tap here, 5 to 6 or 7 to 8, excuse me. And then down here, look at the heads going back and forth. Look at the speed down here. Friedrich had more speed than he should, but that might have been the quietest line we've seen in the exit of 13 into 14 we've seen all night.
Alexander Kasyanov, there he is. Moves into the leader's box.
4th place at the Sochi Games in both 2 and 4.
Kasyanov leads for Russia with 5 still to come. Oskars Kibermanis of Latvia on a rare streak of form at the moment. The injury to his teammate, Oskars Melbardis, who hasn't competed except for last week in Altenburg in the World Cup, has really brought this man to the fore.
5'11", could be 5'7", 5'8", the way these guys go, 5'9".
Second, he equals the fastest. No, Francesco Friedrich, 5:08, is still the fastest starter.
This is a 22-year-old who they just plucked off the streets of someplace in Latvia. He was a rising decathlete star, and they put him in the front seat of a bobsled 3 years ago. I think this is the year he's going to come out and start to make an impression. And while he did last 2 weeks, win bronze medals, his first ever in the two-man competition the last 2 weekends. So he's arrived. He's got great starts, but he's just made a big mistake, 8 to 9.
Didn't race in North America. Last week in Altenburg, his first World Cup start in four-man, 7th place finish.
20/100's back. Wow, he's going to fall back at least 2 places. 3rd best speed, though. He could hang on to a top 3 finish. Wow.
5th, 6th at the line.
Wow.
Yikes.
Yikes is right. Well, I know he made the mistake up there in 8 to 9.
Nearly 2/10 slower on that run. Not what he needs. And that consistency is going to have to come if he's going to be able to replicate his two-man abilities.
Now Kasyanov gets more points for that World Cup lead right there, too. Oh, he got really high up there in the shadows. Then the sled comes back high here again. You can see the exit here. Look at the back end a little bit. Now, it doesn't look too bad there, but here he taps the left-hand wall. Yeah, so that mistake he made up in Kreisel, he paid for it down here in the entrance to 9.
Well, there is
watching the video.
Yep, down in 6th place at the moment. We still have 4 to come. It'll be another top 10 finish. Four to go here in Winterberg, Germany, round 4 of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup. Alexei Stulnev with a sniff of the medals, only 1200s out of 3rd place.
4th place yesterday in the two-man competition, his best performance ever in the World Cup.
His coach Alexander Zubkov.
Oh, great start times for this team. He doesn't get the good starts, and he's had him on 2 consecutive heats.
Well, listen, when you start driving well, Zubkov is going to start filtering in some of the top guys into your team.
Look how low he is in the count, or in his sitting position as a driver. His eyes are barely above that cowl. That's really one of his signature aspects. And -4 with that advantage he had.
He was 800s when he sat down, only 400s. Don't forget, this is ahead of his teammate Alexander Kasyanov.
This is a race within a race, the Russians against the Russians. Believe me, Russia 1 is a lot better than Russia 2. 100th of a second. He can catch him on the bottom with good speed. I don't know, 100th either way.
Going to be very close.
200.
Kasyanov has it by 200
Look
of a second.
at him celebrate.
Yeah.
This is like the Russian championships amongst that. You know,
every week, in every discipline, in every training day, and every push.
There's a lot of competition, and believe me, Zubkov stokes the fire. The competition between these Russians just makes them all better against the rest of the world.
Yep, you have to be careful how you do it, that you don't alienate your drivers and make them feel like they're not needed. But having this tight battle, he just allows it to continue because, as you say, keeps them all on their toes.
Great start here. You know, these are 4 huge sprinters. Let's watch the number 2 guy waiting for the 3 and 4 guy. Watch the arms come up in cohesion. Look at that poetry in motion.
Nice job from Alexei Stilnev. There's the driver, but it is Alexander Kasyanov who has the lead of the race. 3 to go. Austria's Benny Meyer. Can he take another European bronze medal? 3rd place after the first heat.
This kid's been impressive. 23. 14th best start in the first run, 5:21. They should improve.
1700s in hand over Alexander Kasyanov of Russia, 5:14.
700's better. 2nd best speed and the velocity, which is the way the athletes enter the sled and sit around before they get around that first curve.
First heat advantage over Kasyanov's team, and they outstarted them. And Benny Meyer is in a rich vein of
nice
form.
lines. He won a silver medal last year in the European Championships in St. Moritz, his first medal ever. And that was his coming out party, and he has not disappointed this year. 5th places in 2 events last weekend in Altenburg. These are great lines.
Little down in the lead to 0.2 of a second. Great exit off corner 9.
This is for at least a bronze medal in the World Cup and
holding the lead at 0.2. A little rocky, 12 to 13, but he's going to take the lead and into the medals.
54.70, 200's better. There's his father on the right. Franz Joseph Hoffman. This is, wow, it's good to see Austria come back and be consistent. And this is a young kid. He's a soldier. He could have 2 or 3 more Olympics behind him.
Absolutely. Almost gave up pre-season last year. Only his girlfriend persuading him to go into the team trials. He went in a 4-man with 2 girls in just to get a race. Look at him now.
Look at these lines down here. The speed zone. Kasyanov the best speed. Meyer a kilometer down. Look at the back end of his sled.
Heads there, slapping around.
But he had enough in the bank for the start time.
Win ugly, still a win. 2 to go. Benny Meyer leads for Austria, the European Championships in Winterberg, Germany. 2 German sleds. Nico Walter, first out of the start shed in the first heat, led a long time. 900's the advantage over Meyer. That is nothing, even on this track.
He was the first man out of the box this morning, or the first heat.
Silver in the 4-man World Championships here 2 years ago. Bronze here last year in 4-man.
16 start. 15. Pretty quiet out of the 0 curve. Good velocity. His team of Kuska riding number 2. All he's got is 4 gold medals and a silver over 3 Olympics.
400s, the gap has come down.
That's the start. There's got to be no check there. It's been a little bit of a slump, Nico Walter.
He needs a medal here. He needs a good result.
That's
Germany
good.
needs him
there.
to produce.
His teammate, Eric Frank, on the brakes, says they still have a lot of confidence in him. They're trying to pep him up overnight.
Getting
200.
close.
This would be disaster if he falls behind this Austrian sled at the bottom.
He needs to just breathe the sled down the track.
Speed, 3rd best speed. This could be right to the 100. They think he's going to
Tied for the lead. 200s in front of the Austrians, who are guaranteed at least a European bronze.
Hey, for the guy, the personality that Nico Walter is, This is great. He needed this.
And the jubilation from the coaches is not because it's a German result, it's because Nico Walter needs this confidence booster.
Had a terrible Altenberg, terrible yesterday.
And it's not over yet. Nico Walter's had a terrible season so far. 10th, didn't race, of course, in Lake Placid. 6th in Altenberg.
This is in the Kreisel. This is the difference in the speed or the distance comparison. And you can see Walter had 2 meters less traveled through the Kreisel, which when you're dealing with hundreds of seconds, that graphic.
Francesco Frugic there, yesterday's winner, offering his congratulations to the boys who had such a nightmare yesterday. One sled to go. Germany will win the European Championship, but which German driver will it be? Nico Walter, our current leader, or our first round leader, Johannes Lochner, who last week won his first ever 4-man World Cup race.
5'10", they should do 5'7", 5'8". This average age of this team is about 26, less than 24. This is less than 100. 5'09". Good exit out of Chick. A little bit of a drift, but boy, he's got a lot of time in the bank. This is his race to lose right now. He won his first ever gold medal in the 2 or 4 last week in Altenberg, and the Germans did not expect that. And I don't think they expected him to be at the top of the leaderboard at the end of the first heat here either.
He still hasn't even competed in 10 World Cup race weekends.
Comes from a great bobsled background. His father was a slider with his Uncle Rudy. His Uncle Rudy won the World Championships in '91, and Altenberg went on to win a silver medal.
He's gone. 3600s, he's going away. He didn't get 11 wrong. He is on his way to victory.
This is like a video game.
2 in a row from Johannes Lochner. He's making everybody else look second rate.
This is ridiculous how clean this was. 54-45, 500's better. The coaches are surprised at this.
Yes.
This young... This is Uncle Rudy looking on his father, I'm sure. Rudy won the silver medal at the Albertville Olympics in 2-man.
Well, there is Joshua Bloom, his partner in crime, if you like. And Sebastian Rofka and Christian Rasp on the 4-man sled. 2 in a row. Wow.
That's a surprise. I put a lot of money that this would not have been the leader here in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, you would have got good odds on him winning, that's for certain.
You know, the Germans just keep rolling them out. Max Arndt, the double world champion the last 4 years, retired over the summer unexpectedly, quickly. And all of a sudden, Lochner's in the front seat of a 4-man, and he's only started 4 races, and he's won 2 of them and medaled in the 3rd.
Yep. So, and one of them was a World Championship race, not the World Cup. So this is his 3rd ever World Cup race, and he's won 2 of them so far. Johannes Lochner ahead of Nico Walter.
Look at this separation, 4,500 to then 4,500 down to the 10th place.
It's dominoes behind Lochner.
2nd to 10 is 4,700s.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Well, Francesco Frugic as far behind Johannes Lochner in 4-man as he was in front in 2-man very nearly. What a difference a day makes. A remarkable performance. Our new European champion is Johannes Lochner from Bavaria.
Stolnev and Friedrich tied. We didn't pick that up.
Yeah, well, that was again the minor placings. Francesco Frugic, best speed of all at the bottom, but Johannes Lochner second fastest through the final corner. But boy, oh boy, once he got out of corner 4 without any errors,
he never made a mistake. Never made a mistake. He was just perfect driving, no mistakes out of curve 4, no mistakes on the entrance to Kreisel, and didn't tap before 9, and he was as good a run as anybody that came down the track. And when you post the 2nd best start time like that, it's pretty tough for anybody to catch you.
Yeah. Impressive all the way around. Such a young crew, such a young talent. I would say didn't race in the World Cup last year. Did want Sochi 2014, he did that race. One of the other guys wasn't there, wasn't fit. Max Arndt, I think. Oh, Johannes Lochner went because Francesco Friedrich wasn't in Sochi.
Had that injury, yeah.
He wasn't well just before the World Championships. Yeah, that one. So he has started 4 races before this, but he's won the last 2 on the bounce, and Holy moly, when we go to St. Moritz next week, I wonder how high his confidence is going to be in a 4-man. Same as Friedrich in the 2-man.
The Germans are flying.
Yes, they
as
are.
they expect here. Look at the beautiful track here. What a great facility they got here. They don't have a lot of control of the weather.
Rennie Spiess and the German team. Rennie Spiess is playing with a full deck of cards, isn't he? Nico Walter suddenly a big, silver medal Europeans, big confidence boost. That just reminds him, form is temporary. You can do it. And that's what's so important for the driver, is that confidence, that knowledge that it's in there. So for all the 3 German athletes, it's been a big confidence-boosting weekend. Nighttime racing in Winterberg in Germany, and a new name at the top of the European Championships. Gold medal winner Johannes Lochner, silver to Nico Walter, and Benny Meyer of Austria takes the bronze, his 2nd European medal in 2 seasons, just after he nearly gave the sport up entirely. Well, a topsy-turvy race that sees our World Cup points leader, Rico Peter, 10th in European results, but in 14th place overall. He will lose the lead of the World Cup rankings, despite Kazanov finishing out of the points. But Johannes Lochner, that's what the headlines will be on the sports pages tomorrow morning. A big, big win from the man from the Solitude Bob Club in Bavaria.
Well, great starts, great drives. He's won 2 consecutive weeks. Now we go to the historic track in St. Moritz next week, and he could be a threat there. Great start, and the most important, this team is under 100 total years in age.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
They're babies of the sport. Alexander Kazanov is our World Cup points leader ahead of Rico Peter. Stephen Holcomb in 3rd still. Alexei Stilnev in 4th. Benny Meyer in 5th. Lamin Dean slides down a ladder into 8th position at the expense of his expense. Johannes Lochner goes from 8th to 6th, up in front of Dean and Justin Cripps. Well, a remarkable weekend of action despite some ferocious snowstorms, gales and all sorts of weather. They have managed to get in almost every single heat of every competition. Just the women's skeleton this morning was a 1-heat race. All right, there are a couple of athletes in this and in the 2-man, as well as the women's skeleton, who will complain about the weather not playing them fair, but occasionally that is what happens. What we do have at the end of our European Championship weekend, though, is a big result for Johannes Lochner and for Germany. Germany winning the women's skeleton European gold as well. A home win that time for Jacqueline Lerlin. Jacka, who comes from just up the road, who learned to slide here in Winterberg. Her fan club justly jubilant. It went Canada 1-3 with Lerling 2nd place in the World Cup race behind Lizzie Vache. But she won the European Championship gold medal. First woman to win European gold since Anja Huber 7 seasons ago for Germany. Well, there's some happy Germans on the podium, and the Austrians will be doubly joyful as well. 3rd position for the men in red and black. Benny Meyer and his team. Germans getting their ducks in a row and their jackets zipped up. Yeah. Debbie getting them in pairs, otherwise 12 men across a narrow podium doesn't really fit. Yeah, tall ones at the back. Come on, boys. Did you never do a school photo? Nico Walter in 2nd place. Big smile on his face. Good to see that back. And Johannes Lochner, or whatever he is doing, he is definitely doing it right in 4-man. 2 straight wins for him. The first 2 of his career, and his first European Championship gold medal. Doppelsieg for Deutschland, a 1-2 for Germany in the European Championship and round 4 of the BMW IBSF World Cup. Benny Meyer of Austria making the 3rd place. And that's it for round 4 of the BMW IBSF World Cup here in Winterberg in Germany. A week from now, we're in beautiful St. Moritz, high in the Engadine Valley in Switzerland. Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the rest of the IBSF TV crew. Until then, thank you for being with us all weekend. We will see you next time out. Bye for now.